And in 1984, it all started with two brothers who went to auctioneer school. Then in 2009, it changed a lot. Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live. I'm your host, John Jenkinson. You know, I'm here with BigIron, and last show that we did was such a big success, we wanted to find out more about BigIron. So joining me again this evening, this time in the Justin Boots Studios in Fort Worth, Texas, at the historic Fort Worth Stockyards, is Ron Stock and Mark Stock. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Glad you're here this evening. Sure appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Good being here.
And by the way, as a bonus, we are here in front of a live studio audience, and we're going to be taking calls and questions here tonight, so thank you very much.
Is this live?
This is, yes, this is live. This is as live as it gets. So first of all, we are here in Fort Worth, Texas. We've seen a little bit of inclement weather as far as freezing precipitation here this evening, but I want to start with either one of you. Mark, I guess I'll start with you. What does weather do for auctions? Because I grew up a farm kid, we all put on our coveralls, several layers, and stood around and listened to the auctioneer. What does weather like this do for auctions nowadays?
Well, those were the good old days back when you had stand out in the elements. But weather right now on BigIron is actually a positive because it doesn't affect it. In fact, it affects it to a positive way because more people are confined to whatever environment they're not able to move around in. So then they move towards whatever media devices they have, and today it's your cell phone. And on your cell phone you can find the BigIron auction app or the BigIron auctions and bid on land, bid on livestock, bid on classic cars, bid on machinery from the convenience of wherever you are, regardless of what the weather is doing outside. So it's simplified our life, and it's made it a lot more convenient and easy for the buying public out there.
Well, I have been familiar with you gentlemen for a long time, back when it was stock auction. And I know that we've got a lot of folks in our audience tonight, not only here, but also out in the television world, wanting to know the question, why the yellow? I mean, you guys wear the bright yellow shirts. How did that all get started?
The yellow got started because we were in the FFA, so our ag teacher heard we had started in the auction business, and he said, you guys want to, probably our first auction, you guys want to sell out the old tires and the old workbench and the tools in the bus barn in St. Edward, Nebraska? And we said, sure. And I don't know if it was Ron or Mark. I think it was Mark that said, you know, we should have a uniform. And so we had our FFA shirts, said FFA up here in the corner, bright yellow shirts, just this exact color. And they said FFA in the corner. So we asked our advisor, you know, we're out of high school a year, but do you mind if we wear our FFA shirts? And he said that would be fantastic. So then we wore our FFA shirts, and then we experimented with the yellow and the blue. We had some jackets that were blue, but everybody liked the yellow better, so we just started using yellow full time.
And all of Iowa loves us.
Yes, I would imagine so. Yeah. I would imagine so. All right. Speaking of yellow, I want to show a picture here. Recently, you had your national conference, and it was a lot of yellow there. So let's talk about that. What was that like, having everybody together from all over the United States?
Well, it was, for me, it's very gratifying to see people from working with BigIron that are from coast to coast. And sometimes it's the only time I see them is once a year. You know, my wife and I keep track of them on Facebook or talk to them once in a while, but to see them in person and to see their families, how they've grown, pictures of the kids that, you know, go from this high to this high in 1 year, and hear about what's happening in their lives and some of the success stories they have about the sales they've been having. You know, I see a lot of the people from the Midwest that I work with all the time, but my goal is to talk to people that I'm only going to see once a year and hear their business go from small to big in their Arkansas or Texas or somewhere a long ways away. That's the most gratifying for me.
I want to give our audience just a little bit of a behind the scenes, if you don't mind. We had the chance to sit down today at dinner here in Fort Worth with some of your representatives from Texas. And I know some of your representatives from back home in Kansas and Oklahoma area. One of the things that stands out to me is that anybody that wears these yellow shirts, they all seem like they're a part of one big family. Talk about that. Am I reading that wrong?
We're a family organization, and as soon as it's not family and friends working together, you know, I'm not interested in it because, you know, that's what makes it great. Someday when we leave this world, we're going to be surrounded by our family and our close friends. We're not going to be surrounded by corn, and we're not going to be surrounded by cattle or equipment. So we really remember family first, And when we have somebody in the organization, we've had people in the organization that had major health events, and we just stick with them through it, thick or thin. And we're a family organization. We believe in families. We're family strong.
Before we go on, for those who may not have seen the other show or may not know, Mark, I'd like you to bring us up just a little bit how all of this come to this point. I know that you talked about starting out auctioneering some things off with the FFA. How did you ever get to this point from going to auctioneer school to all of a sudden one of the largest, if not the largest, nationwide online auction service?
Well, it all started with a vision, and being people, Ron loves to be out in front of a crowd. I don't mind that as well, but being around a lot of people and seeing the need that they had for an auction provider to go above and beyond when they were having their sale. I know what drew me into it was a couple of the first sales we had where there were some health issues for the family that they were working for. And we just took it upon ourselves to go out there and make sure we cleaned up all the machinery and make sure we lined everything up, and we took really nice pictures, make nice advertising brochures, and we were kind of part of that seller's family from that point on. I think we're still on the Christmas list from that goes back to 1991 and 92 when we really started having the big farm machinery open outcry sales. But working with all these families and then finding the need that they've always had. When we got into the 2008 time period, when corn prices shot up and there weren't a lot of auctions, there were still people that always had 1 or 2 or 3 items they wanted to sell. And we talked about it and said, well, the need is there for us to have some sort of an auction that they don't have to move all their equipment someplace. So let's keep it at their own farm place. And thus we started doing the timed only auctions on BigIron.com, and it just kind of grew very rapidly from there. And the vision that we had with it could not have been done without a tremendous people in a small town America gathering around an idea, working hard to help satisfy customers, sellers, bidders, and buyers. The pride that comes from rural America, just says Rural America Live, it's in the name, is unbelievable all across this country. And it's in every town, and that's what we love about the reps. They have that same pride today that it started back in '09 when we launched the BigIron brand.
We have some pictures here, some video that we want to share with our audience of
nice.
your conference.
Oh.
So let's do that right now. Let's see some of this video from this year's conference, the BigIron Conference. And I want you just to talk about this.
I'll tell you, we are in the Omaha downtown Marriott. We've been having our convention here, our annual convention, kind of our kickoff meeting more than anything. And we've been here and having all of our great sales team come into town, and we're learning, we're sharing, we're networking, and learning from each other and having a great time.
It's buying into what we're, believing what we're doing. In the end, we're trying to help our farmers, ranchers, sellers, anything that we're trying to do with them, making sure that we take care of our customer, and then the results will take care of themselves.
I've been with BigIron for 9 years, so going into my 9th year. It's fun. I mean, I love it. I love, going farm to farm, talking to people. I love BigIron.
A lot of education, a lot of how to build your brand, how to mentor new employees coming on, whether they're territory or ISRs and that type of stuff. So
just really enjoyed learning from other BigIron reps and hearing their stories about their successes that are coming on. I think 2023 is going to follow on picking up right where 2022 left off.
BigIron 2023, let's get it.
That is just amazing. And I recognized a lot of people there too, so very awesome. Mark, last time you guys were on the show, we had talked a little about the acquisition of Sullivan. Talk about that.
Well, I tell you what, Sullivan Auctioneers is a family-run business that mirrors exactly the stock auction and BigIron model. We believe in customers first, being very accurate with descriptions, doing a wonderful job with representing the equipment, all the good and the bad that happens. And when we had an opportunity to sit down with the Sullivan family and talk about how we can bring the two biggest together to be the best, it was like a marriage that was just meant to be. So we're so glad that we've had this chance to grow together. They met together, a lot of them for the first time at our conference in Omaha, Nebraska. The synergies are fantastic. We're going to continue as a group moving together to service the ag, land and ag equipment sectors all across the country.
You know, fellas, on this trip, I was able to bring my wife with me. And I've known you guys for probably 20 years or so. I've only known her and been with her for about 16 of those years. So she didn't have the chance to meet you guys at the early stage that I did. But one of the things that she said this afternoon after she met you and met the BigIron team, the family, she said, I am just so impressed. And I even heard her say, they look like so much fun. I want to be a part of them. So Ron, my question to you is, BigIron is not just Nebraska, not just Texas. It's nationwide. Mm-hmm. That would take a lot of people, and as we saw there in the film, that at the conference, there's a lot of people there. But what does it take to be with BigIron? What does it take to wear the yellow shirt? What's the criteria?
Well, first off, John, we want you to be a family-oriented person. We want you to value family first. We like a work-life balance. We don't need you being out there 80 hours a week, not spending time with your family. So we want a work-life balance. We want somebody, on the other hand, that's hardworking, very community-minded. They're interested in getting right in there and helping with their local activities, and they're passionate. They've got a noble purpose. Their noble purpose is to help people who have machinery in their shed, and they have no idea how to sell it. They have no idea how to clean it up, and we pull it out and do all those details for them. One of the things I'm most proud of is working for a widow or an orphan. It said it's orphans and widows, like I told you last time. So we show up and she has no idea even how he started his equipment, what has been done to it. And we dig in, we find the repair histories, we help people do what they can't do. And we're looking for people like that right now, John. If you're a hardworking person and you're socially minded and you're interested in helping your community and helping people, we're looking for you. We're looking for reps every day, and we would love to have you join the BigIron family. We are fun to work with. You know, as soon as my job isn't fun, I'm out of here because I want to enjoy my work, right? Anybody, we can get a job anywhere where we don't like our work, and I tell people, if you don't like your job, quit it tomorrow, because there's zero unemployment out there, John. If you don't like your job, quit it tomorrow and come to work for BigIron. We're fun to work with.
Mark, what kind of opportunities exist nowadays in BigIron for somebody who wants to join the family?
Well, as our business is growing, we need people from all aspects, from the folks that are meeting with the sellers and showing them the BigIron program. But once that agreement is made and they decide to make that decision to sell land or livestock or machinery, now the crew's got to come in to get it all ready and prepped up. So we're looking for auction setup crews. And when the item is listed and the pictures are taken, then we need some more people to help out in the marketing department, because that is growing exponentially right now. We have a lot of checks coming in, a lot of ACHs. So we need people that like finance and like to do UCC searches and handle the risk department. Titles. I think we got 600-700 titles every month that are processed in various offices. And so all of those people and above are what we're looking for as our business is growing. We've got locations in Indiana, in Illinois, in Nebraska and Kansas, in Minnesota, and beyond, as a lot of our field reps, that the face of the company is the field reps. You know, they work out of their pickup trucks and their cars, and they're putting on miles every day, and we need more of those folks too. And a lot of the areas that we're getting some traction and the phone calls are coming in, and we need people that want to work and live in their communities and serve their customers.
Okay, so we've got a lot of studio audience here tonight. We've got a lot of folks viewing us. I don't want to make you nervous, but about 52 million or so.
Oh my God.
So what is that first step, to take that first step to find out more, to talk with one of you, to talk to somebody about becoming a representative?
Well, we have our website, BigIron.com, and if you scroll to the bottom, there is a careers link. Just click on that and see all the openings and submit the information. And that's how the wheel gets started to turn here on your new career with BigIron.com.
Okay, so I have another question then. When you folks are out visiting with the potential customers, or maybe even current customers or former customers who have used your services before, what's the biggest thing that stands out? What's the one thing they say, or what's the one thing they ask, maybe, that they're most concerned about that probably our audience hasn't heard or doesn't know yet?
One of the first things they ask is, do I need to have a computer? I don't have a computer. I'm not good with a computer. My wife's on the computer all the time. And so we say you don't even need to own a computer to do business on BigIron. It would be helpful if you wanted to buy something, having your smartphone or your computer. But as far as being a seller, you do not need to own a computer. As far as what you need to do with sales on BigIron, you have to do very, very little. I used to say, we don't even ask you to write us a check when we're done. Our proceeds come out of proceeds of sale. Our commission comes out of proceeds. So we line up the equipment. We set it up. We do everything. We market it. Like to push the easy button. When you go to work with BigIron, we push the easy button.
Really? So there's not that much. So does that surprise a lot of folks right away?
You know, right now all they have to do is make the decision to sell, and then we want to be a full service company and take care of everything for them. So whether they've got one item or a dozen items, or they're planning their exit strategy with a retirement sale, I mean, our folks will come in there and take care of everything for them. That's what we want to do. That's our purpose. That is our noble purpose. I always got a bang out of it when we saw people say, well, I'll have the neighbors come over and we'll kind of get everything cleaned up and ready to go. And maybe their definition of running a power washer isn't kind of what our standard is like. So we like to actually take the shields off, and we like to get everything looking just like it was front row ready at your local implement dealership. So that's what we do at BigIron from start to finish. And the advertising and the marketing, we have the best advertising and marketing people in the country. They really, really understand how SEO and SEM and meta tagging, all that stuff works. We've got some really, really smart people, and they're passionate about the job that they do, and that's what's exciting about this industry.
Now, I want to follow up on that, if I may. You brought up a good point. Maybe you have one or two items. Maybe somebody's just got wants a little bit more space in the shop, or maybe they've got a piece of equipment that they say, you know, someday I'd like to get something a little different. The one I have now is fine. Do you, about 1 and 2 sales? Rather, because when some people think of, well, if I'm going to call BigIron, if we're going to do an auction, I've got to have a whole lineup. I've got to sell everything.
BigIron was born on 1 and 2 pieces. We was doing retirement auctions with open outcry microphone, and we'd have the neighbors ask us if they could put a piece of machinery on that sale, that retirement sale, and we said no. Why did we say no? Those pieces brought over from the neighbor would lower our retirement sales value. It would demean it because it would take it away from being a one-owner retirement sale. So BigIron was born for the 1 and 2 pieces. If you've got 1 or 2 pieces, call us up. That's what we was born to do. And then our sellers asked us, well, can I put my whole retirement on BigIron? Well, why not? You know, and it actually is the mainstay of our business now, retirement auctions.
We're visiting with Mark and Ron Stock, and we want you to be sure and call the customer service line at BigIron. So grab a pencil and paper and write this number down: 531-541-6650. Now, if you also want to email them, you can do that at savemydate@bigiron.com. And of course, they're happy to take your phone calls. We're going to toss it to a break. When we come back, more from the Justin Boots studio in historic Fort Worth, Texas, with Ron and Mark Stock with BigIron. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back to Rural America Live. I'm John Jenkinson. Be sure and call the customer service line at BigIron, 531-541-6650. You can also email at savemydate@bigiron.com. We are here with Mark and Ron Stock of BigIron. Okay, when we say the name BigIron, a lot of people think, okay, big construction equipment, big tractors, big combines, big equipment stuff. But it's not just that. It's land also. Talk a little bit about that, Ron, and how that works, because you don't sell just the iron.
We sell big land too. Sold 20,000 acres in western Nebraska. We've sold land in Indiana, Illinois, getting big prices, Minnesota. Indiana, Illinois just had some $23,000 sales this week. Land is up, John, 30% from 1 year ago. And when you sell your land privately on a private sale, the buyers are trying to race to the bottom, trying to see how low they can pay you. But when you sell your land on BigIron on our online auction, it's a race to the top. Who's going to pay the most? So therefore, our land business is really booming. Our equipment sellers have noticed that the equipment sells higher on BigIron. They've noticed that the land sells higher on BigIron because we're exposing it to many, many states. It's very typical for us to have 10 states bidding on a farm in Iowa or Illinois or Nebraska or Colorado or Wisconsin, and there'll be 110, sometimes 200 bids on one farm. So it's really Sullivan's and BigIron doing a great job selling land. Interestingly enough, when we came together as one, we are, I'll be modest and say we're one of the biggest land sellers in the United States, but I believe we're the largest now. And what does that do? That brings the buyers to you. When you have the land to sell, the buyers come. I had a guy call me today from New Jersey looking for some land in the Midwest. He had family roots in that area and he's looking to buy some land. He found it on BigIron, right? So we've got the people calling us wanting to sell their land. What we need, John, is we need help. We need real estate agents in the states, outlying states where we don't have covered. And so if one of our listeners is a real estate broker with an ag background, ag mindset, give us a call. We're really easy to get along with. We put your land from your customers. If you're selling now, if you're a broker in another state, we'll get to that land, put on our BigIron website, expose it to all the bidders and buyers, so you're racing to the top and you're getting the top dollar for your sellers, because we work for the sellers, right? And the sellers, we always know that the person that buys the land, that ends up owning the land, is always the winner in the long run, always. Land appreciates over time. So the seller is the one that needs to get the most money the day they sell it, because 10 years from now, it will be worth more. And we're excited about growing our land business.
Mark, he was just talking about how bidders will be looking for land, things like that. We talked about machinery. Does it seem like that by having all of these bases covered, that it brings in bidders for other things as well, other than machinery, other than land, things like that?
It absolutely does. So, a couple of years ago, we jumped into the classic car space.
Hey, there we go.
And that's the reaction we get from everybody. We've had so many retirement sales, and when you go into their house and you go through their garage, the first thing you see is something with a car cover sitting there, and you peel that cover back, and oh my gosh, and they go, I'm not selling that. Well, some of them are selling it on occasion, and they really like the BigIron model because they don't have to find a freight transportation company to haul it all over the place in a lot of cases. Now with the Sullivan auctioneers, they have their sale coming up here February the 20th, and check out that 1970 Plymouth Superbird, by the way.
Superbird.
Superbird, and there's even a 1969 Camaro SS selling on that sale, just unbelievable. Their facility in Carthage is fabulous. There's 150 cars. The building is full, so we're not getting any more cars inside that building for this upcoming February 20th sale. But if you want to take your car for that nice drive to a yard in Carthage for an upcoming auction, you're welcome to do so. And then you get to pass that torch over to who the new buyer is going to be. The BigIron model, you can leave it right in your shed, wherever it's at, and the buyers and bidders will come and look it and inspect it, and then they'll buy it and drive it home, and you get to shake their hand as well. So we like the classic car model. We've got into the livestock arena as well. We've got several people that love looking at cattle. And we are helping bull producers and folks that are changing up their pedigrees and adding new bloodlines into their herds. And then we sell that bloodline, those fancy bred females and those powerful bulls on BigIron.com. So that's a great venue for us. And we're expanding also into the construction space with our construction vertical, because there's a lot of small town America places that have construction equipment. They got bulldozers and excavators and skid steers and wheel loaders, and we've got a great market for that as well. So those are the areas that we have advanced into, and we have specialists, John, that work in every one of those specific arenas. So you're getting the best in those areas if you decide you want to sell land, livestock, machinery, or classic cars.
Speaking of classic cars, earlier when we were meeting before we went on the show today, you started to tell me something about a Mustang that recently sold. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. The Butch Siebenthaler estate had kind of a rare car, a 1970 Mustang 429. This boss car, which was in a grabber blue with a white interior. I believe there's only 11 of that configuration ever built. And of course, there's only 500 429s ever built every year in 69 and 70. That car sells for over $440,000,
Wow.
John.
Wow.
There was over 7,200 different people that were watching that car. Unbelievable. 30 different states had bid on that car before it sold. There was over 520 different bids on that rare find Boss 429. So the market is there for anybody out there that's got a classic car that would like to sell on an upcoming auction. We can get the word out and we can get it exposed to a lot of people.
Okay, so that leads me to a question of my own is, you were talking about all of these bids in a $400,000 Mustang. So what kind of bidder base do you have at BigIron?
Well, I think it's exciting. You know, we have over 500,000 registered bidders, bona fide registered bidders, and we have 688,000 new visits to the website every month, user visits to the website. We encourage you, when you come to our website, to please register. A lot of people are squirmish on registering, but I promise you, we never sell our addresses. We never sell our email addresses. We have opportunities to, and we say, not only no, but heck no, we're not going to sell those addresses. We know we're farmers ourselves. We know how private farmers are, and we're keeping that information private. But when you register on BigIron, you get access to something huge, John. You get access to our prices. So you can look through the past few years, you can put in a 4240 John Deere tractor and they'll all come up and you can find out what your tractor is worth. You can look up that land sale that happened 2 years ago in your home county and see what it sold for. So if you're coming to the BigIron website and browsing around, please register. Know that we're going to keep that information very, very private. We are not going to take your privacy for granted.
Okay. Well, one of the advantages we have tonight is we're in front of a live studio audience, and we have someone here with us who has a question. Yes, ma'am. What's your question for the gentleman here tonight?
Hi, I'm Lacey Caldwell. I'm actually a BigIron representative for the San Antonio area. And I have a customer who he's wanting to retire, and we're kind of starting to talk about retirement sale, but he's not quite ready yet. When should we start, as a representative, going in and having that conversation with our customers?
Thank you very much. That's a great question. And I always try to tell sellers when I have an opportunity to meet with them, don't back yourself in a corner and give yourself a short runway. So work with your area BigIron rep and schedule that sale out 4, 5, 6 months in advance. And that gives the rep plenty of time to bring in the crews to get all of your equipment cleaned up, all of the proper pictures taken, the videos, and even some of the testimonial stuff that the seller themselves can take in a video fashion. So having a sale should be something that's very joyous. It's not something that you should rush. I know there are sometimes circumstances when you have to do that, and we can sure facilitate that. But give your rep plenty of time. If you're thinking about retiring, now is when you should be calling for retiring, even in November and December of this upcoming fall.
Very good question. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it. So I have another question then to kind of follow up with what we've been talking about here in this particular segment. We've talked about being able to sell land and machinery and classic cars all over the United States. What about other countries? Does that ever happen?
Well, we sell equipment to a lot of other foreign countries. They're buying the equipment. We've had big ones you hear of. We've had Greece. We've had France. A lot of European countries have bought, of course, Canada and Mexico. But we sell equipment that is located in the United States. We have dabbled in selling some equipment that's in Canada, but it's selling to the other states. And interestingly enough, as you know, John, our buyers have to pay the freight, right? So it doesn't cost as much as you think to freight a combine, a 2388 combine from here to Ukraine. Before the conflict, I was paying attention. There was some Ukrainians were buying the 2388 combines, and they take them apart. We ship them to the coast. We help with that. We don't. The buyer has to pay for it, but we help arrange that. get it to the coast, they take the combine apart, put it in the overseas container, send it over there. That trip over the ocean is under $4,000.
Wow.
So that's surprising to me. You know, it costs more to get it there with a truck than it does to get it over the ocean. So buyers can buy from anywhere, and they do. So we're excited about that, but we always deal in American dollars. It's always American dollars they're paying with, and that's what we're always talking.
Well, I'm glad you bring up 2388. We have one on our farm. And I see Mark's giggling. He knows where I'm going with this. You bought a 2388, but it wasn't in Nebraska. It was a special one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a special 2388 combine, and it was one of those things where you get it home and you have a lot of fun with it, and that's what we like. That's what we like about the BigIron model. Is equipment travels right now, average of the 107,000 items that we sold last year in 2022 on BigIron. The average distance was a little over 305 miles. So yes, a lot of it sells close to your next door neighbor or maybe somebody in the next county. But this stuff gets wheels under it, folks. It moves all across the country because what somebody needs today in a different state might not be able to find it locally, so they're forced to go somewhere else, and BigIron will bring that market to them.
Well, I was on BigIron.com recently, and there's a John Deere R coming up for sale in Nebraska. Just saying, just saying. We do have another studio audience guest. Yes, sir.
How's it going? My name's Dawson Smith. I'm actually the BigIron rep from the Huntsville, Texas area. Ron, Mark, one of the questions I probably get most frequently asked is, why do y'all sell unreserved on BigIron and only unreserved?
Oh, that's a good question.
I guess we're going to both probably add to this question because we're passionate about it. We sell unreserved because it brings the most money to the seller. We have a really good quality bidder and buyer who doesn't want to waste mostly his time, doesn't want to waste his time bidding on something that when he's the last bidder, he doesn't own it. So we're unreserved, and that's what makes it work. When you come to BigIron and you bid on a piece of machinery, if you're the last bidder, you own it every time. The seller's not bidding against you. The seller's neighbor's not bidding against you. We police the unreserved. We make it so the rules are rules, the rules are right, and you can buy with confidence on BigIron, and a confident bidder, John, spends more money.
Yeah, anything you want to add to that?
He's right on the line with that. The unreserved model really works because you have a larger pool of people watching. A typical sale on a Wednesday, which is the primary big sales on BigIron, will catch between 75 and 100,000 different watchers, IP addresses on the day of that sale. They come because they know there's no games being played, and that's why the unreserved model works. But thank you for that question.
That's a very good question. Thank you very much. What we need to do is take a break. So I want to invite you again to call the customer service line at BigIron if you happen to have any more questions. That telephone number is 531-541-6650. Remember, you can also email the folks at BigIron for your if you want some questions answered. That's savemydate@bigiron.com. We're going to take another break here, and we'll be back in just a moment. More with Mark and Ron Stock live from Fort Worth tonight. We'll be back right after these messages. Thank you.
The stories of farm families and small towns are the stories of rural America. They deserve to be memorialized and shared with the world. These legacies reveal a rich history and show us they are worth preserving. They show us all what's still possible. Share Your Legacy is a program produced by BigIron Auctions. We're traveling the country in search of families and communities who have stories to tell. Families who worked the land, families who supported their towns, families who gave thanks to God, families whose legacies still impact their communities today. Join us as we visit with the Thompsons in Stewart, Nebraska, whose homestead goes back to 1918. Travel with us to meet the Roberts family in Jeffersonville, Georgia, who have 31 family members running their family farm. Share Your Legacy finds stories like these and presents them like never before. Discover 100-year-old machinery that still has an impact on one Iowa farm, and see what is perhaps the oldest tractor in America still in use, located in Lubbock, Texas. Water towers, town squares, grain elevators, center pivots, fishing holes, and six-man football. all serve as backdrops for these profoundly human stories of hard work, devotion, and perseverance. Tune in to Machine Repeat every Saturday on RFD-TV to catch new features, and visit BigIron.com to nominate stories to be showcased by the Share Your Legacy program.
And welcome back to Rural America Live, right here in the Justin Booth studio, the Cowboy Channel, right in the middle of the historic Fort Worth Stockyards. Mark and Ron Stock are here with me, and Mark, we're going to lead off here with a question to you. We just watched a nice commercial about Share Your Legacy. This is such an exciting thing. I'd like you to break this down and explain this to our audience, how this works and what it's all about.
Well, it's all about the stories of families all across rural America that have impacted their communities. And a lot of these folks, you know, they don't look as if what they've done throughout their life has been anything that's special.
Very humble.
Very humble people. And what we're trying to do, since we've had the pleasure of meeting so many people in our careers, and our sales folks all across the country tell us all the time, boy, did we meet an interesting person, and you cannot believe what they were able to accomplish in their special part of wherever they're at. And we thought we need to help bring that to light because of the humbleness that is found across rural America. And with the Share Your Legacy stories, and with the help of Machine Repeat bringing those to light, our first broadcast will be this upcoming Saturday, and we're so excited about it. And we've got several others in the queue to do these stories on their families and what they have done that impacted not only their particular family, but the communities in which they live.
That is just wonderful. So, can you kind of give us a little bit of a sneak peek?
Well,
is it too much to ask about that?
We talked about this ahead of time.
Yeah.
We don't want to ruin the thunder because it's going to be an amazing first show. But the Symington family in Clay County, Iowa, have been there, homesteaded back in 1870. And I'll let them tell their story when you watch it on Saturday. But very interesting history has to do with Abe Lincoln. The gentleman was chosen to be present when Abe Lincoln was lying in state in Independence Hall. And there's a whole story about that and the articles to go along with it. But that's just so interesting. When you can meet a family who has direct documentation back to Abe Lincoln, that is amazing. So I can't wait for everybody else to see it. Of course, we've seen it, the episode, but I'm going to watch it when it happens. It's just an example of what we plan on doing with it. It's just going to be amazing. Share Your Legacy is going to probably end up being one of the legacies of BigIron.
So are they watching tonight? Is the family watching tonight?
I know there's some of them because there's so many. I mean, what makes it, I'm giving more away, but the whole family's in a corporation running that farm, working together, running that farm. So many family members getting along on a quarter section of land. That's part of the story.
All right. Well, I tell you what, we've got a phone call. I'd like you to bear with me here for just a moment. Let's go to the phones right now. Joey is calling in. Joey, good evening. Thank you very much for calling in to Rural America Live. What's your question for these gentlemen?
Hello. I really appreciate what you all do. And I was always curious, for me, as a caller, when it comes to online auctions, what's expected from us as a caller?
So what would you expect? When somebody first calls in, what would you expect from them? What kind of information do they have to have?
If he's a seller?
Yes.
Well, hello. Thank you, Joey, for the call. If you just give us an idea of what it is you want to sell and what your time frame is, then we would ask where you're located, and then, Joey, we would engage the area local rep, and that's part of the BigIron model. Our reps are scattered all across the United States, so the call that comes into our number, if you're calling into the office, would then get dispatched to the rep that lives probably within half an hour to an hour of where you live. They would schedule a time to come out and meet with you and talk more in depthly about what it is you would like to sell in the time period and the steps that are required and taken to have a successful auction event. So I just advise anybody, just pick up the phone and call, and we'll patch you into that area rep or one of the district managers that work across the United States, and we'll start a conversation.
Joey, thank you very much for the call. And we've got another studio audience question here. Yes, sir. What's your question?
Hi, Brian Reyes. I represent the Amarillo, Texas Panhandle area. And one of the questions I get asked a lot, Ron Mark, is there a seasonality to selling your equipment? I mean, is there a chemistry to do this? What time of season should they sell?
You know, that's a good question, because it used to be you always tried to work it around when not everybody was in the field or when everybody was working cattle.
Thank you for the question. Very good question. We have that question asked a lot. Starting at about 30,000 registered bidders, when we had 30,000 registered bidders, which was over 10 years ago, the seasonality changed. The machinery was selling well year-round. Well, now we have over 500,000 registered bidders. So it's like driving your machinery through 10 football stadiums, and it's all bidders and buyers that want to see that piece of machinery sold. I've got a story quick. I know we got a limited amount of time, but a friend of mine's always trying to buy a 24-row planter. And for the last 2 summers, he's trying to buy it in the middle of summer because he says everybody's going to be out of money. Their operating money is going to be used up. And he says he has statistics, not mine, his, a potential buyer, that the 24-row John Deere planter he was looking at brings 5 to 10% more in the middle of July than it does in December or January. So there is no season at BigIron. There is no perfect season to sell at BigIron. It's always a good time to sell at BigIron.com.
And if I can follow up on that, John, you know, people use their mobile devices. So
that's a good point.
You used to have an auction in the middle of a non-growing season because people didn't have to go tend to their crops. But now with auto steer and cell phones, they can be doing something. They can be in a line with an elevator delivering their grain. They can be in an office with your accountant doing your taxes, and you can be bidding and buying just because you have the convenience of a cell phone. That's another reason why there is no seasons anymore. Every time is a good season to sell. There's always somebody looking to buy something.
And no storm dates.
No storm dates. No storm dates.
We like
That's
that. You know, we've got a lot of folks here, a lot of representatives of BigIron from Texas, and we're in Texas. We're in Fort Worth. How does it make you feel to be able to look out here in this sea of yellow, everybody in these seats, and see all these people here that represent BigIron in Texas? Because this isn't all of them, is it?
No, this isn't. The weather kept some people away, but there's a good 15 of our representatives from Texas here, John. And there's a real good example here of something I'm proud of at BigIron, proud of helping people. But there's a gentleman here in the audience, Austin. I don't know where you're at, Austin. There he is. Austin had a retirement sale on BigIron. Lacey was his rep. She represented the BigIron and took the pictures, wrote the descriptions. He is very, very happy. Guess where he's located, John? He's located in the deep south of Texas. He's located west of San Antonio. So when we can take our bidder base all over the world and thick in the United States, and we can bring that bidder base to a gentleman west of San Antonio, Texas. And I visited with him earlier. He's very, very happy with his prices, very, very happy with his sale. In fact, he recommended us to a neighbor, and Lacey's going to have another sale. So that's just the way it works. You know, one happy seller leads to another happy seller, but I'm mostly proud of the fact that our rep here in Texas, she did such a good job. You could have had a rep in Nebraska not do any better job. She did a fantastic job for that seller.
Wow. We've got another studio audience question. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Parker Cookin. I'm out of the Houston and Southeast Texas area. I'm relatively new to the BigIron family, and I get this question asked pretty regularly. My customers always want to know what exactly they have to do with their machinery. Do they need to clean it? Do they need to deliver it? What exactly they need to do to prepare their machines for sale?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Right now, a seller, if they make the decision to sell, if they want to, because some people like to do that stuff themselves, they're sure more than welcome to clean it all up, wash it all up, you know, service it up. I always tell people change the fluids, and if you got a motorized machine, but give it a good bath. If they are not capable of doing that, we can come in and do that for them. So we can help them from start to finish in getting their equipment prepped prior to even taking the photographs and then having the public inspection. So we are a full service company. I know a lot of sellers do like to, you know, hand that torch and give that tractor a bath just before they sell it. It's kind of their own internal pride, but some people aren't capable, but we'll take care of it for them. But thank you for the question.
Very good question, by the way. What is, you know, you mentioned making the decision. I've heard you mention that 2 or 3 times tonight. Does that seem to be the biggest hurdle to overcome is to make that phone call, the number that we've talked up here, or the first contact to you folks, and make the decision, okay, this is the time to sell for me. Correct. Is that the biggest point?
That is hard as
Why is that?
You know, it's tough, especially if you're having a retirement sale, because it's very emotional and it's, you know, they've worked their whole life up to that moment. But once that decision is made, we can take care of it. But we have been having continued repeat business with customers, John, that once they made the decision the first time to sell 1 or 2 items and then use that cash to purchase something else in their operation, the decision gets so much easier all the time, because now they understand that the auction model and the method of BigIron is actually helping them grow their business. So instead of having that machinery stalled out and sitting in the back of the shed for 3 or 4 or 5 years or 10 years in some cases and not do anything for them, they're constantly looking over their inventory lists. They're giving their rep a call, they come back out, they sell it, they invest in something that is now current with their current operation, and then the next couple of years they do the same thing over and over again. So making that decision is the hardest part, but once they do it once, it becomes easier and easier.
I got something to add to that.
Sure.
A shout out to Carol. She hired us to sell her ranch, and she wrote me a nice testimonial. She said, you asked me to make a decision, and I did it, and you said it would get easier after that. And the week after she made the decision, you know, the ranch sold 6 months later, but she said it was a lot easier. So the decision is the hardest part. It's in our brochures, and it's 100% true, because it's a changing of the guard. You're changing a lifestyle. You're selling a farmer ranch. You're selling your machinery that you grew up on. It's hard to make the decision, but once you make the decision, it gets easier and easier.
A lot of emotion.
Yeah.
A lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion. All right. We've got another question from our studio audience. Yes, sir.
Hey, Ron, Mark. I'm Chris Henders. I'm in the Texas Panhandle region as well. Just have a lot of questions sometimes from our sellers about local representation and local live sales. They like to talk to their people that they know, and of course we're people that they know as well, but we want to talk to them about the advantages that they have with using us. What else can we talk to them about?
Well, I'd just like to say, and Mark really is eloquent about this subject, so I'll let him speak to it here, but we have local representation because it makes the seller comfortable. They know the seller, they know the representative, or they know their family, and it's just, in every state, that's a commonality. It's like, so your last name is Smith? Are you related to the Smiths down the road? No relation. But my mom is a Kuchera, and she's related to these people. Once you get that commonality, and they know you're from the same kind of background, they trust you.
Yeah, well, our reps, you know, they are part of the communities. So they go to church, and their kids and grandkids go to school, and you're seeing at football and basketball games, and they fund special events. I know most of our reps, they're always donating one of the coolers that we're going to sell here in a little bit to some of these organizations when somebody maybe is down on their luck or you got some health issues. So our reps are involved, and they want to be a part of the community to help out their neighbors. And that goes back to our opening segment here when we talked about who are we looking for. We're looking for reps that want to have a purpose in life, a noble purpose in life of helping people. And being a part of that community is one of the main drivers why people come to work for BigIron.
Okay. I want to interject something a little bit on the personal side here that I've noticed. One of the things that, let's face it, all three of us are farm kids, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the things I've noticed that you guys focus on, that you've based your company on, is really just having that rural lifestyle mentality, those values, those morals. One of you earlier mentioned how important family is to all of this. Do you base your beliefs, the company beliefs, do you think that has helped BigIron blossom and become everything that it has?
I believe it has, absolutely. You know, it's just the process of being kind and being helpful and having a purpose in your own specific life. You know, we all go through the day-to-day, but at the end when it's all over, I personally want to feel like I've accomplished something in helping my neighbor. That's my goal, and yeah. I think that's what we've been trying to aspire ever since we started.
I know both of you are very humble, but I know that you also do a lot of charity work. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I tell you, we do a lot of charity auctions around the country, and again, part of a responsibility when you have some success at something is to share your success, your resources, your time, your treasures, your talents with other people. And so, we used to do the auctions on the weekend, the charity auctions. It's like when we're doing 3 or 4 auctions a week, holding the microphone, it was somewhat of a burden. But now that we don't get to hold the microphone as much, I have reps, real estate and equipment reps. I'm sure some of the Texas folks that are here for representing Big Iron are auctioneers. We just love being auctioneers, don't we? So it's a lot of fun, and if I had one more sale to do in my lifetime, I'd love to do a household sale, an estate household sale. It's always fun selling them salt and pepper shakers.
Oh yeah.
But that's in the past. But that was a fun part of our life. So.
Well, speaking of fun, we are here in the historic Fort Worth Stockyards. In fact, the Cowboy Channel Justin Boots studio is inside where they used to hold the cattle auctions. So, therefore, I think it would be highly appropriate if we held a live auction right here. What do you think, audience? Would you like that? Would you like that? Okay.
Okay, who gets the sale? Pick a number between 1 and 10. Who gets the sale?
No. Did you guys pick? Oh, here we go.
We already drew straws.
I got a number in mind.
We already drew straws.
You already drew straws?
I won, I guess.
You won? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So.
Or lost, whichever way you look at it.
Well, it depends.
No, I definitely won.
Okay, we've been doing online auctions a long time. You think you still got it?
We're going to give it a go. All right, here we go. Let's sell the cooler right here. $25 down, 50 down, 50 down, 50 down, 75 down, $100 bill now, 100 now, 115 now, 25 now, 35, 35, 45, 145, 145, 155, 55, 155 now, 165, 65 now, 175. You're awful quiet. 175 now, 185, 185 now, 195, 195, 95 now, 200, 200, 200 even. Hup, sold it. $200 right on over here. Don't bid flow, because there she goes. Thank you. Settle up with the clerk before you leave.
So that money's going to charity, right?
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. We're going to give it to a local FFA chapter.
I believe in the future.
We believe in the future of farming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, as we wrap the show up, I'm going to give each one of you a little bit of time to give us some of your last thoughts. Ron, we'll start with you first.
Well, first of all, John, really want to thank you. Our second time here on RFD-TV. The first time, we can't believe how many people, how many of the 52 million people that sent us out kudos and appreciation. So I appreciate the venue, and we look forward to our relationship with RFD-TV going forward. But we're just in a really people business, and we're people, and all of our sales reps are people as far as the sales reps goes, and we got people behind the scenes that are very caring. I'm very proud of the way we treat our customers. We treat our customers like family, and we'll continue to do so.
Mark? I'll tell you what, I'm going to just finish off with the Show Your Legacy story and the theory behind that once again, John, because we know that there are families out there, grandchildren and children of folks who would love to tell their stories of their parents. And if you want to contact BigIron.com, we sure appreciate you to do so.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much for being on the program. Certainly appreciate it. Thanks to our studio audience, and thanks to you for joining us tonight right here from Fort Worth, Texas, inside the Justin Boots studio on rural America's most important network.